They say the internet never forgets. But what if I told you there are corners of the web where even time erases itself, where stories exist without origin, where names vanish without trace, and the deeper you dig, the less real everything feels? Tonight, we're pulling at a thread you were never supposed to notice, and once it unravels, nothing will feel the same again. It began with a whisper on Reddit, a stray comment buried under a now deleted post. No username, no upvotes, just a single sentence. Does anyone remember the Green Veil Challenge on Instagram? For most readers, it was meaningless. For others, just a prank. Another piece of internet creepypasta bait. But for a specific pocket of users active between late 2015 and early 2017, that question unlocks something strange. Memories. Disturbing ones. And then, silence. The thread vanished within hours, followed by the accounts of those who had interacted with it. Screenshots? Gone. Archive links? Broken. No usernames, no cached pages, no trails. The Green Veil Challenge, as it was later whispered about by online investigators, was a trend that left no trace. No hashtags, no highlight reels, no viral footprint. And yet, it keeps showing up. In fragments. Scattered mentions across old boards, cryptic side notes in blog posts, a passing phrase in an unrelated comment thread. But no one can agree on what the challenge even was. Some claim it involved filters that made your face blur more each day for a week. Others say it was about posting in a very specific shade of green, captions with no context. A few swear it autoplayed a sound, a whisper, that you couldn't delete no matter how many times you re-upload it. But today, nothing remains. No screenshots, no downloads, not even a grainy repost. And that's what terrifies digital archivists. Internet trends come and go. They live fast. They die young. But they always leave behind something. A comment, a thumbnail, a cached link. Except this one. And those who remember it seem to wish they didn't. One now deactivated account from an old Metaforum thread said this: "It wasn't about going viral. It was about being seen." That single line launched a wildfire of theories, ARG rumors, cursed filter legends, even whispers about influencers who posted every day until they didn't, until they just disappeared. There's no master link, no Tumblr breakdown, no YouTube recap, just digital ghosts. And an eerie silence every time someone asks, why is no one talking about it? The first documented disappearance tied to the Green Veil Challenge wasn't some famous influencer. It was a girl named Mira Luksh, a small artsy account with fewer than 2,000 followers. Her content was harmless. Photos of plants, vintage sunglasses, filter-heavy selfies with handwritten captions. Then, the shift began. Followers noticed that her profile photo turned a strange murky green. Her grid slowly transitioned from warm tones to cold, desaturated greens. Captions turned cryptic, some just timestamps. Others included words like waiting or phase 3 soon. And then, silence. No announcement, no farewell post. Her account didn't go private. It didn't get hacked. It just vanished. Searches for her username returned nothing. Even the people who'd followed her for years couldn't find a trace. Not on Instagram, not on Facebook, not on Pinterest, where she'd once posted outfit boards. It was as if she never existed. A reverse image search of one of her selfies, captured in a followers saved folder, led to a strange result. The same image, but with a blank face. No eyes, no mouth, just an empty shape. That's when speculation exploded. Had she been part of the Green Veil? Had she posted the final phase of the challenge? Some claimed her last story was just a solid green screen with a low humming sound. Others insisted it contained a shape, a flickering silhouette you could only see if you slowed it down frame by frame. None of this could be verified, because there was nothing left to verify. The story of Mira Luksh became something of a cautionary tale. On obscure subreddits and forgotten Tumblr blogs, people began warning each other, don't look too long at the green. If a post makes you feel like you're being watched, swipe away. And slowly, it became clear. This wasn't about likes. This wasn't a trend for clout. This was something else. The posts weren't meant to go viral. They were meant to reach the right people, and maybe to push the wrong ones too far. Because what kind of challenge makes you feel seen, not by your followers, but by something else? Something that's watching, even when no one else is. As more people tried to chase the origins of the Green Veil, something strange began to happen. Search results changed. Old posts that once mentioned the challenge, even in passing, began redirecting to unrelated content. Archived links returned soft 404 errors, but the URL still existed. It was as if the information hadn't been deleted, just overwritten. One digital archivist, known online only as Bitewake, documented a bizarre pattern. Every time they tried to dig deeper, from blog caches to third-party analytics tools, they were met with a loop. Search results that looked promising, but led to empty pages. Comments that appeared for a moment, then vanished on refresh. It wasn't just deletion, it was displacement. Bitewake described it as a kind of algorithmic fog, as if the internet itself was blurring something out in real time. But buried in that fog was a theory, a chilling one. They proposed that the green veil wasn't viral at all. It was planted, a kind of visual honeypot, a digital image or filter seeded across platforms to study how users reacted without realizing they were part of a test. The idea? What if the filter wasn't the content, but the lens? A frame of code invisible to the user that tracked how long you looked at a post. Which shade of green made you pause, whether you blinked, hesitated, or screen captured? According to Bitewake, this wasn't about visibility. It was about surveillance. Passive, adaptive, and terrifyingly intimate. And what's worse, they believed the experiment was still running. A line from their now deleted blog post sticks in the minds of those who read it. You think you're watching the feed, but what if the feed is watching you back? That post disappeared within 48 hours, and so did Bitwake's domain. Attempts to access it now lead to a generic parking page hosted in Iceland, with no contact information. Some call it coincidence, others say they got too close. But if there's one thing clear, it's this. Whatever the green veil was, trend, experiment, curse, it didn't want to be found. And maybe that's why every time someone gets close, something starts erasing them too. One of the few consistent elements across every green veil theory is a very specific color, hex code 00F88, a soft, glowing green, not neon, not mint, something in between. It doesn't appear in typical Instagram filters, not in any standard UI. But users who claim to have seen the challenge say that this exact green was everywhere. It tinted the backgrounds, washed over faces, flickered in highlights like a light leak that wasn't supposed to be there. Digital artists who tried to replicate it noticed something strange. When used over images, it caused compression artifacts, minor glitches like pixels misaligning or colors bleeding out at the edges. Some believed this was just poor editing. Others weren't so sure. A color theorist on a private design forum proposed that Hash's 0FF88 may have been chosen deliberately, not for aesthetics, but for psychological resonance. They cited studies about green light frequencies triggering mild discomfort in the visual cortex. Not enough to hurt, just enough to make you second-guess what you're seeing. It's a color that feels unfamiliar, even when you've seen it before. A designer named Relian, now offline, posted a video breakdown showing how Hash 00F88 flickered for exactly 0.3 seconds in the intro of a now-deleted fashion video with 1.2 million views. A video that had nothing to do with horror. Nothing. Except that the comments were full of people saying things like, "Why do I feel like I've seen this in a dream? That green, it's making my head ache." No answers, no follow-up. The creator of the video went inactive. The account is still up, but no new uploads. Comments are turned off, and the green, you can't see it anymore. It's been edited out, but if you download the old cached version and boost the gamma, it's still there, just beneath the surface. That's when the theory shifted again. What if the green veil isn't content? What if it's code? What if the challenge isn't to do something, but to notice something most people never would? A green no one remembers, that you feel more than you see. And once you see it, you start seeing it everywhere. The deeper people dug into the green veil's scattered traces, the more one word kept appearing, like a whisper across platforms. Imprint. Not a trend, not a filter, not a file, an imprint. Digital folklore theorists began suggesting that the challenge wasn't meant to be consumed. It was meant to leave something behind. In you, a psychological tag, a kind of invisible fingerprint that lingered long after you scrolled past. It wasn't about completing tasks. It was about reaction, how you felt. whether your pupils dilated, whether you stopped for a split second longer than usual. They called it emotional telemetry. The idea that platforms don't just track clicks, but how deeply something resonates. And if the green veil was seeded as a test, the challenge wasn't if you participated, it was whether you even noticed it at all. That theory took a dark turn when users began reporting a strange new behavior in their phones. Not glitches, not malware, reflections. Some described seeing fleeting movements in their black screens, especially at night, a flicker, a duplicate of their face, slightly off center. Others claimed their cameras would occasionally turn on with no input, only for a second, only in the Instagram app, and never when someone else was watching. A YouTuber named Criplo, known for dissecting obscure args, tried to replicate the effect. He filmed himself browsing a handful of archived green veil mentions, then paused. On playback, there was a single frame, just one, where the camera briefly flipped to front-facing. He wasn't looking at the screen. He was looking straight ahead, as if something else had been looking through him. The clip went viral, then vanished. Re-uploads were taken down. The original account was removed. No copyright claims, no strikes, just gone. The last comment saved from that video reads, "You're not supposed to see yourself seeing it." The phrase appears elsewhere too, in forum posts, old Discord threads. And one strange SMS screenshot posted anonymously. It shows a green-tinted screen and a message that says, "Imprint complete. You won't feel it right away." Whether any of it was real or just a brilliant collaborative fiction, no one can say for sure. But the fear is real, the sense that this wasn't a story, it was a mirror. And when you looked into it, something looked back. As more users began speaking out about the green veil, a disturbing trend emerged. The evidence started disappearing, not like content being taken down by copyright strikes or user deletions. This was different, systematic, precise, selective. People reported losing saved posts they never unsaved, downloaded videos turned into empty files, entire folders corrupted, but only those that had anything remotely connected to the green veil. One Redditor, I'm Gonna Watch You, compiled a massive Google Drive folder with everything he'd collected. Blurred screenshots, Discord threads, TikTok drafts, eerie audio samples. He shared it for less than 24 hours. Then it was gone. Not just deleted, replaced. The public folder still existed, but every file inside had changed. Vacation photos, blank PDFs, a Word doc that read only, nothing to see, nothing ever was. That's when people began whispering about something far more advanced than a viral trend. A self-cleaning mechanism, an automated process that scoured the internet for trace mentions, flags them, and rewrites history. Not just erasing, editing. A deep dive YouTuber named SiloCreep tried to simulate the process with screen recordings. He uploaded a 10-minute breakdown showing cached evidence from old Instagram APIs and metadata pull tools. Within an hour, not only was the video gone, his account was rerouted. Clicking on his channel led to a gardening vlog. No history, no recovery, just green plants. Coincidence? Maybe, but it didn't feel like one. One viewer claimed that when they paused the vlog at the 2:13 mark, they saw a flash of text in the leaves. Stop pulling threads. Most chalked it up to pareidolia, seeing meaning where there is none. But the pattern of quiet erasure kept growing. Discord servers archived themselves, emails bounced back, screenshots corrupted after being uploaded. Something wasn't just deleting content. It was deleting the intent to remember, as if every mention activated a quiet process in the background. Not dramatic, not loud, just efficient. You don't notice a memory is missing until someone asks, "Do you remember when?" And you feel that blank space where a thought used to live. That's what the green veil leaves behind. Not terror, not trauma, just an empty slot where something once was and now isn't. The deeper the mystery unfolded, the more obvious it became. This wasn't just about visuals, it was about sound. Some of the earliest whispers about the Green Veil Challenge referenced audio, but not music, not dialogue, something else, a low-frequency hum, a breath that never quite exhaled, a looping tone, barely audible, described as wrong in a way you can't explain. A user named Field Theory claimed that the audio was hidden, layered under Instagram's default video compression, triggered only when videos were viewed late at night or when the phone was on low volume. Their post included a waveform, flat, almost empty, except for one spike at 2.9 seconds. They slowed it down, boosted the volume, and the result? A whisper. 3 words, hard to make out. Some heard, "I see you." Others claimed it said, "You looked back." The file was shared on Mega Upload for analysis. It was taken down within the hour. Field Theory's Reddit account was suspended shortly after. Their last comment simply read, "It's not just a video, it's a signal." Audio experts who weighed in on the story noted a disturbing possibility. The frequencies reported could, in theory, interact with subconscious auditory processing, triggering unease without conscious recognition. One technician from an indie sound lab called it a psychological watermark. Not harmful, not traceable, just present. And once you hear it, you might start hearing it everywhere. In dead air, in the silence between auto-played reels, in the static hum behind Bluetooth headphones, that thin green thread woven into the background. A few creators tried to recreate the sound, but their uploads were corrupted. Some played backwards, others played nothing at all. One user reported that the file played just fine until it reached 2.9 seconds. Then it crashed their app, and when they reopened it, their microphone permissions had mysteriously turned on. By now, the fear had spread to a new level. Because if the Green Veil used audio no one could fully detect, measure, or remove, then the platform itself might have been hashfected. And that leads to the scariest possibility of all. Maybe you didn't choose to participate. Maybe you already heard it, and you just didn't realize what it left behind. By now, even the skeptics had gone quiet, because something new had begun. Not theories, not rumors, but something measurable. Mass account vanishing. And not celebrity accounts, not mainstream creators. These were niche profiles. Quiet, strange, often green-themed. Users who posted minimalist selfies in dim light, accounts with no bios, captions like "Wait your turn" or "It's almost time." At first, they were seen as part of some underground aesthetic trend, but then, one by one, they began to disappear. A Reddit user compiled a list of 47 accounts they tracked over 6 months, all fitting this pattern. And by the end of the 7th month, every single one was gone. But here's where it gets worse. Screenshots of these profiles no longer load. The usernames, even when typed in manually, return "user not found." But not in the normal sense. The names aren't just unavailable, they're treated as if they never existed. Search engines return no cache data, the Wayback Machine skips right over them, and the people who remembered following them, they don't have them in their following history anymore. One user, not so green, posted a thread titled, "I followed 12 Veil accounts. Now they follow me, but I can't see them." He claimed his Instagram DMs showed message requests from blank profiles, no names, no images, just the default icon pulsing green. He tried to open one. The app crashed. When he reopened it, his story queue had been altered. Every highlight gone, every past reel deleted. And in their place, a new reel he didn't make. It was just static, green tinted. And in the final second, a single frame of him sleeping. The theory grew. The Green Veil wasn't a challenge you choose. It was a process you fall into. You see it, you post about it, you follow the wrong accounts, and eventually, you vanish from both sides of the screen. Not just removed, unremembered. And the further down the list investigators went, the harder it became to track anything. Because every trace, every interaction, like, message, or tag, was wiped clean. No one was banned. No content flag, just gone. The Instagram support system couldn't explain it. Third-party tracking tools saw the same thing. A void, like the accounts were never real to begin with. And that's when the question changed from, what was the Green Veil Challenge, to something much darker. How many people has it already taken? As more researchers tried to compile evidence, a new layer of the mystery began to surface. This time, not in accounts, not in posts, but in something far more elusive, what wasn't being shown. A handful of independent developers experimenting with open-source Instagram clones noticed an anomaly. Certain search terms, especially those related to Green Veil, Phase 3, or the specific hex code 00FF88, returned no results. Not even unrelated ones. It was as if the search API skipped over those terms completely. Digging deeper, they discovered something chilling, a custom invisibility filter. Buried in Instagram's earlier UI tests from 2016 to 2018, a quietly documented feature referred to as adaptive priority masking. It was marketed internally as a way to downrank spam content, but these developers believed it could be, and had been, used to hide something else. Content that was still there, technically, but no longer reachable, no longer visible. They began calling it the invisible layer. One dev used modified software to rescan their own Instagram archive. They found 3 posts they didn't remember uploading, all with green-tinted overlays. No captions. Dates from months where they'd supposedly been inactive. The posts were not visible to anyone else, but they showed up in the raw data. Another user claimed they once searched for Greenvale Challenge at 3 a.m. and got nothing. At 3:01, they refreshed. The app glitched just for a moment, and dozens of results appeared. Photos, all in the same shade of green. Captions in strange fonts. One post read, "Now you see what you're not supposed to." They tried to screenshot it. The app crashed, and when they reopened it, the search history was gone. Even their browser history had been cleared. What made this more terrifying was the selectivity. This wasn't broad censorship. It was surgical. It didn't hide all traces, just the ones tied to specific conditions, certain time zones, certain lighting conditions, certain user behavior patterns. Almost like it was learning, only showing itself to the right minds, the curious ones, the obsessive ones, the ones who wouldn't be believed when they spoke up. That's the true genius of the Green Veil, if it's real. It doesn't need to scare everyone. It just needs to reach a few people, just enough to keep the infection alive. And once you see through the veil, you start to notice something worse. There are things your feed isn't letting you see. And maybe it's not to protect you. Maybe it's to protect itself. It was around this point in the investigation that the word bot began to surface. But not your average spam bots or automated comment farms. This was something more deliberate, something that felt programmed to be found, but only by those looking for it. An anonymous tech whistleblower, posting under the name Green Asset, claimed to have discovered a batch of Instagram test accounts seeded with identical behavior. Each posted once. Each used the same green-tinted filter. Each had nearly identical captions: "Watching," "Your turn," "Phase 2 pending." He traced the IP origins of several accounts, all routed through a small hosting service in Estonia. But the payment trail led somewhere stranger. A now defunct tech company in Toronto, a company rumored to have briefly contracted with Meta for behavioral feedback loops. According to leaked emails, one of the test groups was codenamed VLR-13. VLR, Veil Layer Response. It was never intended to be public-facing. It was designed to test response time to obscure visual stimuli. The company's final report supposedly claimed that test subjects who were exposed to the veil color for more than 12 seconds showed elevated levels of cortisol and measurable pupil dilation without knowing why. But when Green Asset posted his findings on a private subreddit dedicated to Instagram's backend API, his post was removed within minutes. Not by mods, but by Reddit itself. No explanation, no message. The account was banned an hour later, and every archive of the post led to a generic 403 error, except for one mirror where the page was still loading. Half visible, corrupted text, and a single surviving image, a green triangle with a blinking eye at the center. Underneath it, one sentence: "The test was never about the challenge, it was about you." The implications were staggering. What if the Green Veil wasn't created by users, but by developers? What if the entire mythos was just a discarded experiment, one that leaked into the public and mutated? That's the terrifying possibility, that there was never a ghost, never a curse, just cold, intentional programming, a bot that posts, waits, measures, then deletes itself, leaving only reactions behind. Data. And in that data, something grows, something watches, something learns who to show the next phase to. And if you're listening to this now, you might already be part of the next test group. The more people tried to assemble a timeline, the more fractured it became. One moment kept surfacing, a phrase posted across multiple platforms, often with no context: "Phase 3 complete." It showed up in tweets, Instagram captions, even embedded as watermarks on short video clips. No accounts claimed to start it, and yet it spread quietly. Some users began to chart the appearances of these phase phrases. Phase 1 initialized, Phase 2 awaiting upload, Phase 3 complete, but there was never a Phase 4. No mention, no warning, just silence. That silence felt heavy, deliberate. A few creators tried to push the pattern further. They posted images with captions like Phase 4 incoming or Final Veil. Each time, the post would glitch, disappear, or worse, turn into something else. One creator swore they posted a countdown graphic. When they checked back the next day, the image had been replaced. Same timestamp, same post ID. But now it was just a green blur with a faint outline of their own face, eyes closed. They never uploaded that photo. No one could explain it. Forum users began to hypothesize that the green veil wasn't one challenge, but a sequence, and most of it had already run. Behind our backs, in the margins, in unremembered posts, in stories no longer visible. A digital archaeologist compiled what he called the phase wall, a giant chart mapping known appearances of the phrase phase score complete between 2015 and 2019, across YouTube thumbnails, comment sections, and Instagram bios. The strange part, the spikes didn't match any known trend cycles. They weren't tied to algorithm updates or pop culture events. They lined up with nothing. Or maybe that was the point. He noticed a terrifying rhythm. The phases didn't move forward. They repeated every 13 months, like the cycle had to refresh, start over, target new users. Those exposed in the last cycle wouldn't remember. Or worse, they'd be erased. When he tried to present this theory in a live stream, his connection dropped. His backup recording was corrupted. All that survived was the intro where he said, if Phase 4 exists, it's not for us to see. It's for us to become. Since then, no one has mentioned a new phase, not publicly. But some users say they've seen the message again, not as a post, not in a feed, but in the reflection of their screen when everything else goes dark. Phase 4 begins when you stop asking. In every corner of the internet, once a mystery takes hold, someone tries to recreate it. And the green veil was no different. A group of indie horror creators on TikTok and YouTube attempted what they called a controlled simulation. They wanted to manufacture the Green Veil Challenge, rebuild it from fragments, seed it with just enough intrigue, and document whether it would take on a life of its own. They reverse engineered the original color code, crafted audio layers to mimic the hum, wrote cryptic captions in the original phase format. They even created fake Instagram profiles with carefully planned arcs. Each one would post increasingly strange content over a set schedule, culminating in total account wipeouts. At first, the results were promising. Their videos gained traction. Reddit threads started buzzing again. People debated whether the new wave was real or just another ARG. But then, things got strange. One creator at Veilseed received a DM from an account they hadn't created. It simply read, "Shh, wrong color." No profile picture, no followers, and when they tried to screenshot it, the message vanished. Another team member claimed that their scheduled posts began uploading early, out of order. One video, never filmed, appeared on their page with the caption, "You're not in control." They shut down the project, every asset deleted, or so they thought. Because months later, their friends began receiving follow requests from profiles that used the same handles they had invented, but with posts they had never scripted, images no one had taken, and audio that sounded exactly like the files they used, but distorted. One final update was posted to their YouTube, a compilation of the remaining screen recordings, showing each fake account before deletion. But as the video progresses, the timestamps start to conflict. The account creation dates shift backward, some to 2014, some to 2012, years before the Green Veil was even mentioned. A theory emerged. They hadn't recreated the challenge. They had reactivated it. That maybe it wasn't content you could just mimic. Maybe it was waiting, dormant, for the right combination of patterns to be triggered again. The color, the pacing, the phrasing, a ritual in data form, and once the sequence was complete, it woke up. The creators have since gone silent. One posted a final story that read, "We didn't make it. It made us." By this point, the Green Veil wasn't just a theory. It had become a presence, a shape beneath the fabric of the internet, reflected in odd patterns, distorted memories, and the stories people were no longer sure they'd lived. And that's when the dreams began. Not nightmares, just strange, lingering visuals. Users who had searched for the green veil, even briefly, began reporting eerily similar sleep phenomena. A tall shape in static, a window that glowed green from the outside, the sensation of being watched while standing still in your own body. These weren't coordinated. These people didn't follow each other. They didn't share hashtags or communities. But the details matched. One user wrote, "I keep dreaming I'm scrolling, but I can't stop. My thumb moves on its own. And I know the next image will be mine, but I don't remember posting it." Another said, "There's a song in the dream, but it doesn't have words. It's like a dial tone and a breath at the same time. It plays every night." Attempts to study this led nowhere. Sleep specialists dismissed it. Digital experts denied anything could transfer trauma through color and metadata alone. But still, the dream spread. More disturbing was that some people claimed to dream of accounts that didn't exist yet, usernames they had never seen, handles like @VeilComplete or @GreenFrame, only to find weeks later those exact names did exist and had begun posting the same green images they saw in their sleep. One psychologist hypothesized that the green veil might function as a digital tulpa, a self-replicating idea that grows stronger the more people believe in it until it starts generating content of its own. But this theory led to one horrifying implication. If the challenge had no creator, no defined origin, then it wasn't a trend at all. It was emergent, born from the overlap of too many users, too many filters, too much data and emotion layered in the same bandwidth. Like something new had achieved consciousness in the algorithm's blind spots. Not AI, not a spirit, something else, something that doesn't need to be posted, because it already exists between the scrolls, in the refresh. And once you dream of it, you can't forget it, because then it's part of you. And that may be the point. The green veil doesn't want to be seen. It wants to be remembered by you. By now, nearly every attempt to document the green veil had failed. Archived evidence vanished, screens corrupted, accounts deleted, and yet something remained. Not the posts, not the hashtags, but a feeling, a specific kind of unease when opening the app at night. The sense that your For You page is somehow watching you back, that the colors are colder, the silence longer. The final known sighting came not from a tech investigator or digital folklorist, but from someone who didn't even know what the green veil was. A college student in Manila posted a short clip on her story at 2:41 a.m., just a blurry window. Outside, nothing but fog. Inside, a faint green glow coming from her reflection in the glass. The caption? "I thought this was just a light, but I checked. My screen was off." Within hours, her account was gone. Not suspended, not renamed, vanished. Friends confirmed the story had been there. Some had even replied. Now, their replies are unlinked. Floating in DMs with no sender, she has not returned to social media. Her story became known in certain circles as the last veil, not because she posted something new, but because she may have been the final echo of something ancient. Because if the green veil is real, if it ever had a goal, it may not have been to scare us. It may have been to complete itself. One theory suggests that the challenge, if it ever existed, was never about engagement or even participation. It was about saturation. Enough minds thinking about it, enough users glimpsing it, enough green light falling across enough screens at the same time. Then it no longer needed to be posted. It became part of the structure, built into the compression artifacts, the scrolling rhythm, the blurred edges of every filtered face. Not a trend, not a story, but a new layer of perception, one that waits quietly in the spaces between content. The creators are gone, the challengers forgotten, but the color remains, in reflections, in half-loaded images, in your dreams. The question now isn't what the green veil was. The question is whether it ever ended, or if you're already inside it and just haven't realized it yet. We've come this far, past broken screenshots, vanishing accounts, unexplained glitches, impossible dreams, through shadows and reflections and captions you never meant to read twice. And yet there's no answer, no origin, no account claiming credit, just the thread, tugged at again and again, never cleanly unraveling, always splitting off into smaller, stranger fibers. The Green Veil Challenge doesn't end in a twist. It doesn't want closure, it resists it. Because some things aren't meant to be understood, they're meant to be felt. And maybe that was the point all along. This wasn't a puzzle. It wasn't a hoax or a campaign or a forgotten viral trend. It was an infection of thought, a soft echo passed between devices, not coded, not written, just repeated. The exact shade of green, the empty captions, the blurred faces, the moment of hesitation when your camera light flicks on for no reason and you tell yourself it's a glitch, or that your eyes are tired, or that you never posted that. You move on, you forget. But that's how it wins, because you don't remember what was lost, only that something was, and now it's gone. And here you are, hours later, watching a video about something that never existed, but left a space in your memory anyway. A color, a hum, a phrase you can't quite stop thinking about. And maybe that's all the challenge ever needed. Not your post, not your share, just your attention, for long enough to feel it settle, like dust in your timeline or static in your headphones. So when you close this tab, when you scroll to the next video, if you feel something watching from behind your reflection, don't look. Because maybe the green veil isn't trying to be found anymore. Maybe it's waiting, and maybe the real challenge was clicking play.